So while doing some research for an upcoming article around some, potential Korean players outside of Korean contenders, I took a gander back at the Pacific Contenders Season 2 finals between Cyclops Athlete Gaming and Talon Esports. And I found this game, and I found this strategy that Talon uses on Anubis B quite interesting because it kind of mimics a style that we're seeing really start to be popularized in China by Ambitious Immortals. You've probably seen a couple of Reddit threads about them, and I might do a small profile on them and this kind of composition that's becoming more and more popular. But I really wanted to break this down because I don't think this got any love, and I thought it was really cool and super innovative. Hopefully, I said that correctly for the time period. And I do want to see more of this in the West. I think that it has some merit on specific points, and I just kind of thought it was really cool because I don't think people realize what is going on with Talon's comp specifically. So before we get into Talons, well, actually, we'll start with Talons comp, and then we'll kind of look at why Cyclops is running the comp that they're running. So what Talon's doing here is that they're running a very very dive kind of nearly quad DPS composition. They're looking to fight in this courtyard. Now, kind of ask yourself for a moment, why would you want to fight in this courtyard? Well, first, let's look at their positions. So we have some high ground pressure. We have a potential for a right wing flank, a left wing flank, and a direct push up the middle. Now, because there's a Sombra, you can't count out some sort of strange invisibility flank coming in from the that arrow looks like it hit every stick on the ugly tree. There's always a potential that a Sombra, TYG could be in the back line looking for a complete flank. So they're utilizing a huge mobility pool. So you've got, again, the 4 divers have a ton of mobility. You're going to see Brigida kind of push up the middle, and Ana will probably stay about, midfield, look for some healing throughout this main corridor, which kind of is a weakness, but for the most part, you have so much burst that you'll start an ultimate engine, and you'll just kind of decimate everybody because of the surface area of EMP and just using this open ground to really pinch from all sides and blow people up. Now, to speak on the mechanics of the composition, I think people underestimate the latent CC potential that Talon Esports composition has, and it's not really coming from Brigida. The Brigida is actually coming in very late to the fight. She's going a little bit more reactive. She's a fight cleaner, and she's more of a pick that's there to deal with any kind of shenaniganry for the Ana. She's a little bit more midfield focused. She's not really diving with the core here. But with that said, there still is a surprisingly high amount of CC with Doomfist and Hammond. So again, follow me here. It's I wouldn't say it's a bit of a stretch, but you just let me explain. So when Hammond jumps in and he pile drives you, what happens? He hits you, you get knocked up. Now, when you get knocked up, you still have some control over your character, but for the most part, you're very limited. So let's kind of mark that as like a 90% slow. So you're basically knocked up in the air and you're slowed for about 90%, right? You could aerial drift left, right, omnidirectional, that's fine. But for the most part, you're CC'd. 90% slow is basically a root or a stun in that sense, but it'd be more closer to a root because a stun means that you're incapable of doing anything, whereas a root, you're basically just locked in place. The same thing happens with Doomfist when he uppercuts you. That's basically another 90% effective slow, if you're kind of following me there. Not to mention, he has his E that, again, knocks you up. That one's a little bit shorter. It's not a massive knockup, but for the most part, you can still kind of consider it a useful CC. Not to mention, when I rocket punch someone using Doomfist's right click, that pushes you in a trajectory either away or into a wall. Regardless, it's adding disruption, which can be, I would kind of classify as a crowd control mechanic. Now, why is that important? Well, it lets your Sombra get better hacks, let your Genji become a little bit more accurate when things are knocked into a specific area that you are familiar with, whether it be like halt, whether it be an uppercut or a pile driver. Your DPS are going to be basically more accurate because they know the trajectory. It's a set trajectory up and down, or left and right, depending on if it's like a Hammond, he's knocking them away, or if Doomfist is knocking them away and they hit the wall, that's basically a stun. Genji can then jump on them. He can hit some left clicks. It's very easy for him, or it should be a little bit more easy for him to be a little bit more accurate with his shurikens, and that's really important. Same goes with Sombra. She can land a little bit. She can land easier hacks onto targets that are knocked up, or punched into a wall, or you just kind of zoned away with Hammond's mines. And I hope that kind of paints the right picture. That this composition actually has some kind of hidden CC abilities that people aren't really jumping to the conclusion of. Now, that's not to mention the fact that this composition, again, wants to fight in this courtyard. So why we've talked about how they attack into the courtyard, but why would you want to attack in the courtyard? Well, obviously they have multiple attack paths, and because of specifically Sombra, Doomfist helps a little bit because he can kind of engage from the high ground, which is less resource intensive than just punching straight in. Sombra actually does really well here because she can EMP this massive surface area, and if you can have a better surface area, that means more hacked targets, which means less effective damage that Cyclops is going to be able to do. Now, if we pivot off to Cyclops, a majority of what Cyclops is looking to do is just catch the dive and punish the tanks as they come in. The issue is that Talon doesn't have very many tanks that are coming in that are easily discorded and shot in the face with McCree. And there's so many dive targets, or so many divers from the side of Talon, that you run out of CC abilities that you can really use to really disengage any kind of massive dive, and you see that repeatedly as they fight. EMP, instantly everybody dies. Now watch A-Week as his ultimate charge just climbs. Next fight, he's basically going to have Dragon Blade, and this is the issue that Cyclops faces throughout the majority of their next couple pushes, is that every time they approach, there's always just another ultimate to fight into, and they can't ever catch up with that rhythm. When A-Week uses his blade, EMP's back off cooldown, and if that doesn't happen, then Doomfist is going to find a pick with his ultimate. Everything starts to snowball away. Now, if we pause here, what I do want to mention, or at least kind of point out, is the fact that Talon is missing a very popular hero that mitigates some abilities that Cyclops could use to kind of abuse this really, really aggressive, effectively low healing composition. And we'll get into that once they reapproach the courtyard. But kind of think about someone who can mitigate some very powerful abilities. Again, it's the courtyard. They walk in, they're looking to catch. They actually do get the pick on Gogora, but it's such a high damage composition. Now you're starting to see that ultimate chain come in, and it's very difficult for them to keep up the pace. So this kind of keeps at least a good angle to explain what I was talking about before. So Talon doesn't have D.Va, right? And if they're looking to fight in this courtyard, and they're always going to fight you here rather than on the point, why not run a little bit more passive D.Va? So as they jump in, you can hit them with a Bionade, and they effectively don't have much healing, if any healing at all, because if Ana can only heal people within the line of sight of this small hole, when the Hammond jumps in over here, if the Genji, Sombra, Doomfist are over here, it's very difficult for them to get any healing. Now, how many people are you going to hit with this Bionade? That's up in the air, but for the most part, you can hit people. You should be able to hit at least one to two targets. Not to mention, Sleep Dart is a CC ability. It's a little bit inconsistent depending on who's using it, but for the most part, again, it's a tool that you could use that is or has no pressure from a potential D.Va, because Talon isn't running a D.Va. You see them swap to the Sombra Genji. I would have rather had kept the McCree. Give me an Ana and give me the Sombra on Amaken. Now, obviously, there's hero pool issues with that, but for the most part, you then, if we can write this out, if this is McCree, this is Sombra, and this is Ana. Again, you're getting Bionade and Sleep Dart. With Sombra, you're looking to hack the Hammond as he's pile driving. So he pile drives, he knocks you up, you hack him, you sleep him. He's effectively dealt with for a good amount of time. And then the McCree works well with the Zen to just really start to rattle down targets. It's still giving you a little bit of CC to deal with the flankers. So if there's a Doomfist charging your backline, you can hit him with a stun. Hopefully, potentially even hitting him with a Sleep Dart from Ana. There's a little bit more play here, and it kind of fits that rock, paper, scissors motif that we're seeing a lot, where if you don't know the answer to the question, you find it very difficult for teams to approach these points. But hopefully that kind of paints a good enough picture. If you do want to finish watching this VOD, it is on YouTube. Just kind of look up the Contenders Overwatch channel and take a look. I do believe Cyclops actually caps this point, so a little bit of spoiler there. But yeah, this is Talon Esports, triple DPS Anubis B aggressive defense. That's a mouthful, but hopefully I painted a good enough picture to kind of grasp it a little bit better. And thanks for watching, and if you liked it, like and subscribe and all that good jazz. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me on Twitter. I'll leave my Twitter handle below or somewhere on the video. And yeah, thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.